Hello everybody, John Hemlock again bringing you the trivial spoils of Pandaria kill. The first kill that we had as a guild on the flex mode. And we're going to talk about tanking this thing. And I'll just start out by saying that probably my favorite fight as a tank so far because of all the chaos, which you'll see. So the goal of this fight is to pick up all of the things and to tank them and to not stand in bad. Um, The group I'm in right here, we start on the manted side. The manted side has more kiting, what anecdotally seems like a little bit lower DPS requirement than the Mogu side, but there's a lot more bad stuff to stand in, a lot more things to get out of. Definitely a lot more kiting. There's basically no kiting on the Mogu side. Um, so the one thing about this fight that you just can't get around is you've got to do it a bunch of times before everybody's comfortable with it. And the main thing is the communication and the understanding between the tank and whoever the person is assigned to break boxes open. Because as you break these boxes open and they release mobs, you've got to know where that guy is, where the new mobs are coming from, so you can go pick them up. And obviously, it's a tough job being the guy that has to break the boxes open because it's basically what makes or breaks the fight is getting the right number of mobs up at any one time. Not too many, not too few, but the right amount so that you can beat the timer. So on the manted side, the one thing, the only thing that's a real danger here to a tank is these warcallers. You'll see I've got one targeted there, and he turns big and red, and I get a warning that he's enraged. That's the only thing in the 30 or so attempts it took us to kill this boss. The only thing that ever killed me, I think, was an enraged warcaller. So they hit really, really hard when they are enraged, and you basically just have to kite them. You don't want to stand toe-to-toe with those guys. Even running your mitigation, they just hit too hard for it. So beware the warcallers. Watch for your DBM timer or your bigwigs boss mod to tell you that the warcaller's enraged. When that happens, just run away like a little girl, because they really do hurt, and they're really the only thing in the whole instance that really hurts on flex mode. And this last few attempts, or this last night of attempts, Honesty was doing something to make them stop being enraged. I don't know, Shiv or whatever, some dirty rogue tricks that they use. That's a great help, because the real issue with this manted side is the kiting. You can see there another one turns big and red, and then Honesty immediately gets the enrage off of him, which is great because then I can just stand here and everybody can cleave and I can cleave. So that's definitely a good thing. So manted side is kiting enraged warcallers, and then just being in tune with the guy opening boxes and having communication with the guy opening boxes, so that you know where the next mobs are coming from. And just one quick thing to point out, this is a fight where you really want to keep vent clear. If you're not opening boxes, or if you're not tanking, or if you have nothing important to say, please keep vent clear, because there are two separate teams fighting through this that have no communication with one another, and really have nothing to do with the success or failure of the other team on the other side. So there's going to be quite a bit of vent chatter just from those people trying to coordinate their own sides. So please, if you got nothing to say, you know, just stay off of vent. And here our DPS blew this side up. The maned room, again in my mind is a little lower DPS requirement. It's a little higher awareness requirement because of the bombs that he puts on people, which as a tank you don't have to deal with. And the kiting and the warcallers, you don't get quite as much cleave damage. So we killed that thing and had 40 seconds left, which was great. But we take this Moga room right down to the wire within, I don't know, 20 or so seconds. So, but on the Mogu side, it's kind of the same thing. You got to know where the new guys are going to pop from, and then you just got to go pick them up. And this is, AOE is the order of the day. That's what you want to use here. Your single target stuff just isn't going to get it done. You want to make sure you've got your AoE pickup abilities. For a warrior, Thunderclap and Dragon Roar. You couldn't pay me enough to not have Dragon Roar running to tank this room, just because it's such a good, so much threat that you can pick things up with. And another thing I'll point out here, I've got in the lower right hand corner of my screen there, I've got recount running on this fight. But it's not actually for this fight, it was for the last fight, I think. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I think I was looking at the previous fight before the pull, so what you're seeing there is not real, but there is some real tank DPS to be had here. And I love tank DPS. I think people know that about me. It's fun to be able to contribute in that way to a raid, so I like to see those numbers go up. But I did look at the logs briefly just before I posted this video, and I took a bunch more damage than Sirne did. And a couple of reasons why. I can tell you, in this fight I used Cleave 61 times and I used Heroic Strike 24 times. I don't think I've used Cleave 61 times in this entire expansion, and I used it 61 times in this fight. So there's some DPS to be had, and you got to remember, for every one of those cleaves, I'm losing out on some mitigation. And that's a shield barrier I could have thrown that I didn't, possibly a shield block that I could have thrown that I didn't. But the point is, I was pretty okay. I was never really in trouble in this fight. Our healers did a tremendous job, and so I replaced some of that mitigation with damage. The long and the short of it is, when in doubt, use your mitigation abilities. Don't lay off the cleave button or whatever. But when your raid can handle it, sure, hit those DPS buttons by all means. So this is the Mogu side of the fight. It's easier, I think, than the Manted side, but I do think the DPS requirement is higher. It seems like we really had to burn things more. We saved heroism for the Mogu side. We came a lot closer to the timer on the Mogu side, at least in our group, than we did on the Manted side. There's a lot less things to run. There's no kiting here. Nothing's gonna, you don't have enraged warcallers. All you're trying to do is grab things up and use your E rotation on them and try to burn them down. So we're going to town on these guys here and sneaking up on getting the 50, whatever the units are, the 50 things to win the fight. And it's also for DPS. It's you just got to remember on this fight, use your personal cooldowns, particularly when the big guys are up. The big guys will get you like 14 points, and the faster they go down, the better off everybody is. So use your own cooldowns and blow this stuff up. If you have raid cooldowns like Warriors with War Banner or Shattering Throw, that's just gravy. But make sure you use them. Don't use them on a Quillen. Use them on the big guys. And here you can see our timer's running down. We're almost out of time. I actually, at this point, didn't think we were going to make it. I did not think, I thought our room was not going to make it. I think the other room had already got their 50 and we hadn't, and we were not going to win. But we did. And now you can watch me stand here while the raid almost dies so that I can type things in tank chat, because I don't want Kobe to win the shield that I didn't just win. So I'm kind of selfish, really, when it comes down to it.